Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain.
It sounds fake.
What if I told you that one of the most celebrated royal births in modern history might not be the fairy tale we were all sold? Yes, you heard me right. For years, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have carefully crafted the image of Archie's birth as some secretive, defiant, palace-shaking event. They wanted us to believe it was all about privacy, independence, and breaking from tradition. But now, people are starting to ask if that entire narrative was nothing more than smoke and mirrors. And honestly, once you hear what's coming, you might never look at their story the same way again. It's just so disgusting. That's not my word. It's what critics have said after looking deeper into Meghan's so-called pregnancy tale. Because, my friends, behind the glossy PR statements, the truth looks very, very different.
People think her kids are fake. They think they're AI.
Voices are rising louder than ever, and they're not just whispering, they're armed with receipts.
It's a dreadful thing to do, and actually completely wrong.
And right in the middle of this firestorm is none other than Candace Owens. Candace didn't just dip her toe into the drama, she dove right in. "I was instantly enraged from this 10-second clip," she said.
This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
That was all it took. She claims Meghan's pregnancy story is filled with glaring contradictions, and she's not backing down. And let me tell you, once you see what she's talking about, it's hard not to raise an eyebrow, because these aren't little slip-ups. No, these are contradictions so wild, so bizarre, that even doctors, nurses, and royal insiders are left shaking their heads in disbelief.
I was instantly enraged from this 10-second clip. It just annoyed me.
Can you imagine? Medical professionals are literally calling Harry and Meghan's version of events impossible. That's not me exaggerating, that's what they're saying. And it all starts with Harry himself. In his very own memoir,
Make you sound like a better mom. It makes you sound like really kind of into yourself in a way.
Harry lays out a timeline of Archie's birth at Portland Hospital. But here's the thing, it doesn't just feel off. According to experts, it feels downright impossible. Let me break it down for you.
This crisis won't die down until the irrefutable truth comes out.
According to Harry, Meghan endured not one but 2 epidurals, powered through the birth, and then left the hospital with baby Archie within just a few hours. Doesn't that sound like something out of a Hollywood movie rather than real life? 2 epidurals, a rapid hospital discharge, conflicting stories about why the press wasn't told. I mean, come on. You don't have to be a royal insider to smell something fishy here.
He describes her very well, and he does this by taking a look.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous.
Put these puzzle pieces together, and what you get is not the magical fairy tale of a royal baby's arrival. It's a tangled web of contradictions. And here's the real kicker. If even one piece of this puzzle is false, what else might have been fabricated? If the inconsistencies are real, then the public hasn't just been misled, they've been betrayed. The trust that people once had in Meghan, Harry, and the royal family could have been shattered right from day one of Archie's life.
Buckingham Palace is being pressured to remove Prince Archie and Princess Elizabeth from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she popped out.
But before we jump to wild conclusions, let's slow down. Let's look at the evidence piece by piece, because what comes next could flip everything you thought you knew upside down. Harry's memoir, the very book that was supposed to give us the inside scoop, might have actually exposed more than Harry and Meghan ever intended. He writes about Meghan's birth at the prestigious Portland Hospital, supposedly involving 2 epidurals, and then, wait for it, leaving the hospital with Archie just hours later. On the surface, it sounds dramatic, glamorous, like a power move story designed to showcase Meghan's strength. But when actual doctors started reading this, they nearly fell out of their chairs. Let's talk epidurals. This isn't like popping an aspirin, it's a complicated medical procedure that involves inserting a catheter near the spinal cord. Once it's in, it stays in. Nobody swaps it out halfway through unless something goes terribly wrong. And Harry? He made it sound like Meghan just casually went through 2 of them like she was changing outfits. Experts say this isn't just unusual, it's almost unheard of, risky, dangerous, and definitely not the kind of thing a doctor would gloss over. And it doesn't stop there. Harry claims Meghan was back home at Frogmore Cottage within 2 hours. 2 hours! Let me paint this picture. You've just given birth, supposedly had 2 epidurals, completed hospital paperwork, done newborn checks, recovered enough to travel, and then taken a lengthy drive across London. Does that sound even remotely realistic? Doctors say no, mothers say no, nurses say absolutely not. The math just doesn't add up. It feels rushed, too rushed, suspiciously rushed. So the question becomes, why? Why tell a story that doesn't line up with medical reality? And if this timeline isn't accurate, what else in their carefully crafted narrative might be misleading? Because trust me, things get even messier when we zoom out and look at how the palace itself handled Archie's birth. If Harry's timeline raised eyebrows, Meghan's handling of the press was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Royal tradition is strict. The Queen is informed first, an announcement is drafted, and the press is notified almost immediately. But when Archie arrived, it was chaos. Meghan didn't stick to one story. She gave 3 different explanations for why the press wasn't told. 3. In one version, she said it was for privacy. In another, she claimed there were birth complications. And in yet another account, the reason changed again. Even royal reporters, who usually bend over backward to protect the palace's image, admitted they were confused. Some journalists were told Archie had been born hours earlier, while others were informed Meghan was still in labor, even though she wasn't. Mixed messages, conflicting timelines, total chaos. And you know what chaos does? It breeds suspicion. And here's the thing, palace staff don't make mistakes like this. Protection officers, aides, medical teams, they follow protocol to the letter. Deviations don't just happen, which makes you wonder, was this confusion deliberate? Was it all a strategy to hide the real circumstances of Archie's birth? Because if you thought the press situation was strange, just wait until you hear what was happening behind the closed doors of Portland Hospital. Do you believe these inconsistencies were about privacy, about generating sympathy, or could they be covering something much bigger about the monarchy itself? Because medical experts are adamant, Harry's version of events doesn't line up with medical reality. And if Meghan really had those epidurals, her supposed rapid recovery and discharge just don't add up. Think about it. An epidural isn't like a quick jab in the arm. It's a highly delicate procedure, where a catheter is carefully inserted near the spinal cord to deliver pain relief throughout labor. Once it's in, it stays there. Doctors can adjust the dosage, sure, but removing it and starting all over again in the middle of labor, that's rare, risky, and absolutely not routine. Yet, Harry described Meghan's experience as if she breezed through 2 epidurals like it was nothing. Medical professionals were floored. They said this isn't just implausible, it borders on reckless storytelling. If Meghan really went through that, her recovery time would have been longer, her monitoring stricter, and her discharge delayed. Instead, we're told she was back home almost instantly, resting in comfort. Sorry, but that's not how childbirth works. Critics pounced on Harry's version, saying it read less like a medical account and more like a dramatized fairy tale. Maybe he misunderstood medical terms, or maybe, just maybe, the story was intentionally shaped to sound extraordinary. After all, Meghan's image has always been tightly controlled, curated for maximum impact. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Every time the narrative doesn't line up with reality, suspicion deepens. And once the public senses smoke, they'll start looking for fire. And here's the sharpest contradiction of all. Meghan has publicly positioned herself as an advocate for maternal health, speaking about the importance of proper care and attention for mothers. But if her own story is true, it undercuts everything she's preached. And if it's not true, then the public has been fed a carefully polished fairy tale. Either way, the questions refuse to go away. Add in the whispers of an insider who claimed Meghan's stay was far less dramatic than portrayed, and suddenly the official version looks even shakier. And you better believe Candace Owens grabbed onto these inconsistencies like a bulldog. She argued that when the small details collapse under scrutiny, the bigger claims deserve suspicion too. So what's the truth? Were Harry and Meghan simply embellishing for sympathy? Or was this a calculated effort to control every single thread of the narrative, right down to what Meghan supposedly ate and how she got around the hospital? Either way, each leak, each contradiction pushes public trust further away and closer toward outright suspicion. At this point, the inconsistencies aren't just piling up, they're screaming for an explanation. The timeline doesn't add up, the hospital details don't check out, insiders keep contradicting the official version, and that leaves us staring down one question: why? Why would Meghan and Harry feel the need to twist or embellish something as intimate as the birth of their child? Some say it was about control, keeping the narrative in their hands in a world where the palace usually dictates everything. Others argue it was about generating sympathy, casting Meghan as a mother, navigating extraordinary challenges under crushing pressure. And then there's the theory that the secrecy wasn't about Meghan at all, but about shielding the monarchy from truths it couldn't afford to let slip. Whatever the reason, the effect was the same. Instead of silencing critics, Meghan and Harry handed them ammunition. Every blurred timeline, every oops in the story, every odd contradiction, it all feeds into the perception of dishonesty. And once the public feels lied to, regaining their trust is almost impossible. Candace Owens saw this vulnerability and struck hard. She tapped directly into that simmering mistrust, amplifying the doubts people already had. And let's face it, if a royal couple can't be straightforward about something as basic as a birth, then people are bound to wonder, what else are they hiding? This is where the cracks in their credibility turn into full-blown fractures. Gossip doesn't die down when contradictions keep popping up. It grows, it spreads, it festers. And Meghan and Harry, whether intentionally or not, have kept adding fuel to the fire. So here we are. From memoir contradictions to mysterious hospital claims, Meghan's pregnancy story is riddled with details that just don't add up. Was it sloppy storytelling? Was it a carefully crafted myth? Or was it something else entirely? One thing is certain, the truth is buried under layers of confusion. And while Candace Owens may have stirred the pot, she's only spotlighting what people have whispered about for years. The timelines clash, the stories shift, and every new explanation opens the door to more suspicion. On one hand, you have Meghan and Harry, desperate to control their story, insisting on privacy while simultaneously cashing in on public attention. On the other, you have critics like Candace Owens and Thomas Markle, chipping away at their credibility with every inconsistency. And in the middle, a global audience that feels increasingly betrayed. Because let's face it, trust, once broken, is almost impossible to repair. If the public decides Meghan lied about her pregnancy details, if they believe she even lied about her age, then her entire narrative crumbles. The interviews, the memoirs, the documentaries, all of it gets recast as performance instead of truth. And in the court of public opinion, perception is everything. At the end of the day, Meghan and Harry's story has become a masterclass in contradiction. The more they try to rewrite the rules, the more tangled their narrative becomes. From the 2 epidurals and home in 2 hours tale to conflicting press announcements, from secret elevators that don't exist to gourmet meals that staff don't remember, from a father's shocking accusations to a critic's relentless commentary, this isn't just gossip anymore, it's a saga, and sagas, as we all know, don't end neatly. They linger, they haunt, they keep us watching, waiting, whispering, because with Meghan Markle, every answer seems to lead to 2 new questions. And that, my friends, is the essence of scandal.